Jesus. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning for some. This is Devin Hughes. Delighted to be here, and I want to welcome all of you to this exciting webinar titled Selling Happiness. Do Happy People Sell More? So I'll give maybe 30 seconds or more. We got a lot of people joining us here today, so we'll give them a couple seconds here to join. All right, so hopefully everyone can hear me. I think we're going to get started here. Delighted again. The title of our webinar today, folks, is Selling Happiness. Do Happy People Sell More? And I'm delighted to have as our guest today would be Grant Davis, Vice President of Sales for Renewal by Andersen. My name is Devin Hughes. I'm the Chief Inspiration Officer for International Thought Leader Network. We're going to have a little fun today. We're going to learn a little bit and get an opportunity for Grant to share some of his experiences with Renewal by Andersen and what he's done to drive down happiness into the culture, and specifically on the sales team to get some outcomes, getting people pretty excited to come to work. We are going to have a couple polls during the webinar today, give you an opportunity to share some of your experiences. And certainly if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please use the chat, and if we can weave those in, we'll be happy to do that too. So with that said, let's get started here. So fundamentally, I think we might all agree that happy people tend to be more productive, creative, helpful, etc. You look at the outcomes, folks. It's no surprise that if people show up at work excited, engaged, happy, enthusiastic, eliciting positive emotion, they tend to do better. So we know it to be true, but why don't we see it more often? If you look at the Gallup data, specifically, roughly upwards of 70% of the global workforce is coming to work disengaged, either unhappy or actively unhappy. So, but what about sales? So if you look at the Gallup data specifically on sales, and you look at the different categories, salespeople specifically have the 7th lowest engagement scores. Folks, these are the folks going out driving revenue, signing deals. they're not engaged. And out of the four categories, salespeople tend to have the lowest engagement scores. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Indeed, does this have to be the case, and what can we do about it? Now, I don't know about you, but I think salespeople in general have a pretty awful perception that most people are not too excited to have salespeople call on them. And I think there's an opportunity for your sales team and salespeople in general to rebrand themselves, all right, to create different sales experiences that are rich and provide value to their clients. And we'll talk about that with Grant as well. So we sent out a pre-webinar question, and we asked you, and this is what the results were. You said 98% say that a positive work environment helps you sell more. 98% said that a positive work environment helps your sales team sell more. So again, we clearly get that if we can get the sales team in a better place more often at work, the outcomes or their sales performance will improve. Easier said than done, I might say, though. Now, fundamentally, looking at the data, whether it be in Harvard Business Review or a variety of other publications, the profits tend to increase when engagement increases. And we've seen this at Zappos and a bunch of other organizations. So that said, well, first poll question of the day. How would you describe your sales environment, your sales culture? Positive or negative? And let's take a minute or so on this poll. All right, everyone. So it looks like the data's in. So 70% of you think currently that you have a 70, that your the sales culture is positive. So well done. So again, temperature check there. So that aside, let's get at it, folks, because this is why we're here. I'm excited, absolutely thrilled to have Grant Davis with us, who again is the Vice President of the company-owned retail operations for Renewal by Andersen. And he's taken some time to share with us his experience today. Grant, if you would you just give everyone an overview of Andersen and your role there? I think the backstory is pretty important, if you would.
You bet. Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here, and this is a topic that I have a lot of passion for, so this is exciting for me. Renewal by Andersen is a division of Andersen Windows, which is the largest window company in the country. Renewal is specifically the full-service replacement division for Andersen. And that means we go direct to consumer with custom-made windows and doors, and then we actually install those windows in people's homes. So a different model than Andersen has traditionally gone to market with. We're about 20 years old, our division is. And so our sales process, our marketing process, pretty much everything about our business except for how we make the windows is different than the big company that we work for. I specifically work with the company-owned retail operations, so we have two forms of distribution. One is through independent retailers, and then we have 7 markets which are company-owned. So all the people, the marketing people, salespeople, production, installation staff, those are all Andersen affiliated people in the markets that I'm responsible for. We represent roughly 25% of the volume that goes through our business.
Fantastic, Grant. Thank you so much for that. So let's get at it, Grant. So you mentioned it. You said this is kind of near and dear to your heart. So is happiness relevant to sales, and why? Why do you think so?
Yeah, sales is a combat sport. It's mano a mano, and most of the time that a salesperson is doing their work, they're away from their coworkers. They're by themselves. Our reps, in fact, go to people's homes to talk specifically about their project in their home and replacing the windows in their largest and most important asset. So I really believe that if a sales rep has got the right frame of mind and is positive, that's going to show up as soon as that front door opens and our sales rep is invited into the house. The opposite, of course, if that sales rep is carrying around negative energy and isn't in the right place, that gets carried into the house too, and people can sense that as well. So I think it's very, very important how people show up, and we've learned a lot about that through this journey we've been going on with the Happiness Advantage. So it's not necessarily to say that it's impossible to sell if you have a negative mindset, but sure makes it a lot more difficult. And we've found over the years too, and long before we started doing this, that if you took a look at our most successful salespeople before this journey, and they already were doing a lot of the things that we've learned here, kind of in a more broad way. They were already showing up positive and had the right mindset, frame of mind, and they were already seeing success because their happiness was forefront. So being able to put that on more of a scale and teach other people how to rewire the brain and really create the right environment in the office and in the sales team culture to help sustain that despite the ups and downs that come with being in the sales game. We found that to be a very successful and positive contribution to what we're trying to get done around here.
So Grant, you're in a very competitive industry, right? So there's other people that sell products or sell windows, right? I mean, they do. So talking to you and the backstory, is it? I would argue that in some cases the differentiator when a customer, you go to their home, would be maybe the salesperson. So in some ways, you could be potentially selling happiness, not just windows. You're selling experience sometimes, aren't you?
Well, without a doubt, that's absolutely true. And we have a saying that we've got all this great technology and science that goes into our product, and all these robust processes and systems that allow us to execute the project at a timeline and budget that meets the expectations of the customer. But at the end of the day, salespeople sell windows, and they by far are the ones. It's the most important part of our process is setting the right person with the right skills, knowledge, and attitude into the home, and that does make a difference. People buy from people that they like, and our reps have a very short period of time to build trust with a customer. Within a couple moments, someone will know for sure if they're not going to buy from somebody. They're not necessarily going to know if they will buy, but they will probably know for sure if they're not going to buy. If they show up, they're late, they're sloppy, they're just in a grumpy mood. That just doesn't set the table the right way for the rep. So it's really, really important that the rep from the moment the door opens, we say the moment the curtain goes up on that show, they've got to be bringing it from the start. And I think our reps are exceptional at that, and that does differentiate us from our competition.
All right, no, that's great, Grant. So we had an opportunity to walk around, the office, and I noticed this when I walked in. It says, "Thank you from your sales team." I thought this was pretty powerful stuff that the sales team had taken the time to do this. Do you mind just giving people the backstory on what this is and why the sales team had done this?
Yeah, so this is from one of our locations that really has adopted. They've all adopted the principles, but just like anything else, some people just take it to a whole nother level on their own, which is what we're looking for. And our process, and maybe take a step back to explain a little bit how that works. So our sales reps, and this will be the envy of a lot of the people on this call that will hear this, our sales reps have the vast majority of their leads are generated by the company. So there's an army of people that generate leads for them in marketing in a variety of different ways. They're working for the sales team. And when the sales team shows appreciation and connection with those folks, they actually become more productive too, not just the sales reps, but the marketing team does. And then once a job is sold, the back office has to take it from there, and all the people scheduling and measuring and ordering and manufacturing and then ultimately installing and servicing the product up to the expectations that the sales rep sets when they first sell the deal is it's really important that all those people are in alignment and that the experience of everyone that comes after the sales rep is consistent with what our customer has experienced with our sales reps. So again, the genuine appreciation and sincere gratitude that sales reps show for the people upstream and the people downstream that help our customers realize the value proposition that the sales reps convince them to buy. It's really just a kind of a self-propelling thing that I could tell you was maybe more inconsistently applied in the past, and this has given us all common language to use with one another. And I think they're finding that it's a happier place to be, and we're also more productive. And so doing more of it gets better results. So it's been a pretty cool thing. So this is an example of the sales team. They hosted a barbecue and created this poster for the rest of the office and everybody that supports them and what they're trying to get done.
Wow. So I tend to call that memorializing. So when good things happen at work, if we don't talk about it or memorialize it like here, it's like it doesn't exist. So it sounds like you've given people actually permission to talk about and share good stuff. Or I saw this, Grant. It says, being orange represents all that we are able to achieve when our minds are set to positive. Who does this? Who did this?
Yeah, we've got people in the office that have taken it upon themselves to find things and produce things, and it's coming from everywhere. This is not it was a top-down initiative to get it started, but we set the spark and pun intended, and people have just grabbed on and run with it. And so the leaders in the markets are just there to cultivate the environment and encourage and catch people doing great things, and then, like I said, memorialize it, put it on the wall. We say if it's important, put it on the wall, and that's where this quote ended up.
Love that. I love that. I'm just scrolling through some of these things again. I'm walking through the halls and I can see. So you're coming to work, going to and from the break room, and you can see that people are again just getting in the habit of sharing. So, Grant, we've talked about it a little bit already. You've talked about some of the principles and specifically the orange frog. And some people on here may not be that familiar with the parable, how you got to be a part of the workshop, being connected with the Happiness Advantage, etc. So would you mind just sharing a little bit about the Orange Frog Workshop, the Happiness Advantage? You mentioned the principles a little bit.
Yeah, so we were exposed about a year and a half ago to the Orange Frog 2-day seminar, and my HR director and myself went to this, and it just really clicked. We've had a really strong run here the last few years, and our business is all about people, and the more we grow, it's just more people. More leads require people to go get those leads, people then to run those leads, salespeople, and all the way through the pipeline and installation. There's not a lot of kind of capital that we can apply to the retail business to scale this business. It's people. And we had a strong culture. We were proud of our culture, but didn't really have a way to how do we ensure that with all these new folks coming on board that we are able to continue to have the good culture we have, but even to enrich it and make it better. And so we were kind of scanning for something, and we came across this and really just fell in love with it. Started with Sean Acor's TED Talk, and went to the seminar and exposed a subset of my leaders to the Orange Frog a few months later. And I mean, they just really, really took to it, and were instantly pushing for how do we get my people exposed to this? How do we push this out broader? How do we make a big deal? This is really going to resonate. And we now have trained over 500 people just in my group through the Orange Frog. And I think one of the effective things that we've done, most effective things that we've done, is rather than having the International Thought Leaders folks come out and do training all the time, which is great, they do a great job, but they're also expensive, right? I mean, to scale it and keep doing it over and over again, it's expensive. That's one thing, but that was kind of why we did this. But we said, well, let's get some trained facilitators, and they've got a program where we trained 6 of our associates, and Chris here, who you see on the screen, is one of them. And you know, they have full-time jobs. They're not dedicated trainers, but they have done. Chris and Cody are here in the market that I'm in right now. They're going to be training for 3 days. They've already done 12 training sessions, and while doing their full-time job, and they'll tell you that it's probably been the most rewarding thing they've done professionally in their careers. And having these trainings done by our own people, and then being able to apply our business and examples directly to the learning, I think has been really effective. So the problem we have now is there's more demand than we have supply of facilitators, and we can't get it done fast enough. So, which is good. We want that to be pulling on, as opposed to us trying to push something out on people. That people are actually wanting this experience. So it's been a great engagement from the beginning, and it just really fits our culture. And I think the way we're executing it too is having an impact as well.
So Grant, as I'm looking at these photos, and thank you for sharing that. You know, I mean, it's not like there was I mean, you didn't have a bad culture before, right? I mean, you guys were doing reasonably well, but you looked at the Orange Frog Workshop and the Happiness Advantage, and bringing some of these principles to life was to enhance, you know, to what you're doing, to continue to elevate or leverage kind of going forward. And it sounds like people just jumped on board. I'm looking at a guy wearing a shirt that says, "Hello, my name is Awesome." I mean, who does that?
We all have one of those, and that's a fun shirt to wear. It's fun to look at, but it's even more fun to wear. People get a kick out of that. So, yeah, you know, it's given us a common language is really what it's done. You know, we throw the word orange around a lot. It's like that, you know, that's not very orange, or it is very orange, or you saw a picture of our conference room a few slides ago, which is kind of a funny story too. We had a major remodel done in 3 of our markets last year, and we have a corporate resource that helps us come down and do that. And we have there's corporate kind of social scripts here now. You've got corporate color palette of, you know, here you can paint the walls these colors. I'm like, yeah, but that's not. And orange is one of Anderson's colors, but it wasn't orange enough. So we actually lobbied to change the daylight on the paint color to make it more kind of glowing orange. And now you go to all my markets, you're going to see these really large orange walls that have all kinds of fun stuff on them. So that's a grassroots that came from the people doing the work, and they really bought into this.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, again, I'm just going through some of this stuff in the halls, and you know, this is an image it's rolling around on people's email signature, and again, I think that fluency, right? Permission to have a little fun at work. So, you know, so it begs the question: and you touched on it a little bit, Grant, right? Are high sales performers do they tend to be happier people in your eyes? What do you think?
Yeah, again, I think this is where the happiness advantage and some really being forced to think about why are happier people successful, Because too many times, like, well, yeah, I'd be happy too if I was selling that much and making that much money. Well, that was backwards. And I think people that believe that, we're never going to turn that equation around, and realize that it starts with them being happy before they can find the success that is, truly available to them. So, how you show up every day, and I'm sure our business is no different than most businesses that have salespeople, and you've got inside people, and you've got customers, and you've got vendors, and um, if you're the person that people like to work with, you get better service. That's just the way it is, and it's not a calculated thing. It's real. People like to be around positive people, and will perform better and work harder and try to return that favor of happiness. So I absolutely believe that your mindset and your positive framework and how you approach the people in your life. You look at our top performing salespeople, and they are bright orange, without a doubt.
Wow. And so, Grant, one of the things that I thought was so interesting about what's changed, and you touched on it about these scripts, these norms, these behaviors, is that, for example, your sales managers, I guess, have begun to start with the positive before they get into the negative in terms of feedback with their reps. Like they're purposely starting with something good to start coaching conversations. And I wonder, how's that being received, or can you share anything on that?
Well, I can see in the room here that we've got some of my sales reps on here, so they might be better to ask that than me. I think that's just smart coaching, and there's so much more positive in pretty much every interaction that one of these sales managers would see with a sales rep than there is, constructive criticism that can be given. And I think it's two-sided too. I think the reps now are they want to hear both, and how you receive feedback is as important as whatever the feedback is that you get. So if you know that it's coming from a place of someone genuinely trying to help you, I think you're more apt to listen to that person, and it's more sincere. So, but there's little things, not just the coaching one-on-one, but the meetings. I mean, we'll start a meeting with something maybe totally unrelated that just sets the tone for the rest of the meeting. And it could be recognition, it could be a funny story, it could be a funny video clip. It's just trying to keep it a little more light and get people flowing energy in a positive way from the start, as opposed to here's another sales meeting I have to sit through. And it should be fun and should be engaging, and they should learn something that's going to help them sell another deal that week in that 1 to 2 hour time frame.
Yeah, so Grant, I got a question. So I just got a question. Christy said, so Grant loves it, loves the story. Her question is specifically, what are you doing, or what are some of your more outstanding performers actually doing to stay in that positive place? Like, what are they doing to get happy? Now, certainly they have some happiness habits, which is what we teach in the workshop. Are they actually? I mean, can you give any examples of folks that are doing anything, whether it be gratitude or meditation or anything like that they're actually doing, or maybe even yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big aha, the big thing that has struck a chord with us is that it's a choice. Happiness is a choice, and it starts with the leaders. I mean, I can't show up to work in a grumpy mood and come to a meeting in a grumpy mood. I can't, right? So it doesn't have to start with the leader. Anybody can be an outlier and be that positive person. But if the leader's not, it makes it harder for everyone to do that. So I think setting that expectation from me and all my leaders, and it wasn't a difficult one to set. It wasn't like I had to turn someone around on this, but making them aware that how they show up every day and the environment that they create in the office has a lot to do with how everyone else performs, but how they're able to prepare themselves for that. So I have one of our top reps in the market that I'm in right now has added meditation to his morning routine. that's not for everyone. I've tried it, and I struggle with that, but I'm still going to continue to try it. But I do, that works for some folks. Probably the thing that's helped me the most was bringing it home, and I've got 3 young kids. We've read The Orange Frog together a couple times, and we hold each other. They hold me as accountable at home to be happy and show up the right way as anybody at work does, probably more so. Um, and you'll find people are giving us feedback that, hey, this has had a profound impact on me personally, maybe even more than professionally. And I think if you can do something, any kind of training where you can apply it to more than just your work life, it's going to be more sustainable.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. So, and we've talked about this a little bit. I mean, about this connection between sales reps and teams and how they stay happy. Have you noticed? I mean, I'm not sure what sales meetings look like. We've talked about giving positive reviews and et cetera. Have you noticed any more collaboration? I mean, I know that I've seen it on the walls. Any more sharing of ideas, or sales guys starting to connect and celebrate one another, memorializing wins? Any behavior like that that's new?
Yeah, one thing that we've done that's really been successful is we have our own Renewal by Andersen Orange Frogger Facebook page, and daily there are, I think, 5 or 6 or so far today have popped up, and it's anything from people popping up a quote to a picture or a gratitude of something that happened in the business, and so that's really spread across markets too. So now we have not just people in Chicago and Twin Cities and Boston working with each other, but now they're working across markets too. And so some of these social network platforms are good to keep that dialogue going. How do the reps and the team stay happy? It's a daily thing. I mean, again, the sales game is hard, and you get told no a lot more than you get told yes. Even the best of the best salespeople get told no more than they get told yes, and that's hard. So they're reaching out to each other. Again, the top reps probably always did this, but they need that to stay fueled and stay positive and move on to the next thing. I think we're finding reps there spending more time going out to installations. So we sell a job and then product gets installed, 4 weeks later, 6 weeks later. When the rep actually shows up and they see the impact that this is having on the customer and how happy they are. I mean, they're just over the top. They just can't believe what a difference it makes. They can't believe how great the installers are, how beautiful it looks. Everything you told me came true. We've had so many bad experiences in the past with home improvement, and yours is different. You get some of that feedback before your next sales call, and that just charges your battery. So we're having more conversations like that of what can you do to get yourself in the right mindset, as opposed to talking tactical, this or that about the window, or things that are still important. But if you don't have your mind right and your attitude right, then a lot of that other stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah, agreed. It's like my daddy used to say, Grant. He used to say that without having the right mindset, being at the right place really doesn't matter.
Yep.
And I'd agree. And so I'm looking at some of these pictures. I mean, it looks like, again, you guys are doing a bunch of stuff together. We call that. We learn in the workshop this concept of social investment, right? People making deposits in one another and doing it just because. I'm looking at some of these photos. Looks like you're doing some stuff, in the community there, like feeding my starving children. Look at the happy faces. Look what they're wearing. I mean, just that commonality of experiences and the permission to bond on it. I mean, it's just awesome,
Yeah. These were, they volunteered to do. They wanted to do this. This wasn't a corporate's going to come down and say, this is the cause that we're supporting. This was all done on their own. They found this organization. They pulled the program together. Some of these folks are hourly workers, not in this screen, but the previous one, that basically were volunteering their time. They could have been out working and making more money, but here they're volunteering their time doing this instead. So then again, you do stuff like this, it makes you feel good because you're helping others and you're doing it as a shared experience with your team. So it's building team as well, and it's just going to have a positive halo effect on everything you do in your life, sales and all your relationships that you have in your life.
Now, Grant, you mentioned before the call that there's actually an Orange Frog workshop going on today, I believe, right?
Yep.
So I'm curious, and this just came up. Has this impacted recruiting at all? I mean, are people? I mean, I know it's bleeding outside the building, but is it affected on how you interview and how you bring in candidates and what that looks like? Any nuances there at all?
Yeah, we haven't overtly been talking about this through the recruiting process, but a common thing. I just hired somebody who started last week, and he said, "Yeah, I wasn't so sure. I met all these people, and I heard what you guys were talking about and how great your culture was, and a lot of companies probably say that through the process when you're recruiting somebody, right, to try to get them in the house. But it's like it's real. I mean, it's even actually, you guys undersold how crazy happy people are here. I mean, it's just it's kind of a strange thing for people coming from the outside, and especially if they came from an environment which was not this, to experience that. So, I think anytime the face of our recruiting efforts, whether it be the local managers or we've got a really great talent acquisition team that is constantly trying to source people for us, that energy comes across, and I absolutely think it's had a positive impact on that. It's a hard thing to measure, right? But it sure makes a lot of sense. I mean, you want that face of the company to be showing that kind of pure raw energy and just excitement, engagement, and love for what they're doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. So, one of the other things we talked about offline, but I think it's relevant for everyone. You said, and I quote, you said it's not good enough to be a top rep or a high performer now if you're not going to bring more than just that to the picnic, so to speak. Like, you can't have a bad attitude, be a bad apple, be a high performer. It doesn't work anymore. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I would tell you that this has never been a rampant problem of ours, but there have been times in our recent history where you had some top performing people that were not contributing anything beyond the performance. They wouldn't spend much time in the office. They wouldn't come to social events, which again is fine. We're not pushing people and telling them they have to do these things. But now it's come to a point where the culture is such that those people now stick out. They're now the outliers, and just having your positive sales results, if it's a salesperson in this example, and not being part of that team is probably a hard thing to do, because we expect everybody to be sharing and helping one another, and again, we don't do any kind of overt, you must be happy, you must share, but the group kind of pulls that along, and in the rare occasion where you have people that are providing a negative environment in the culture, they either change or find their way out. We don't have to do much about that, but the culture kind of rejects. It's almost like the body rejecting a disease. If something is bad in there, they just can't survive in our culture anymore, and that's not something the managers have to do too much to manage anymore, which is great. I mean, that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Hey, so I'm going to call an audible here real quick, Grant. I mean, I just got a question from Don. Don says, has the Orange Frog approach been implemented company-wide, or just within the sales team, and where are you headed next with it?
Yeah, no, it's company-wide in my retail environment. So marketing, sales, production, which is the people that are out in the field measuring and ordering, and scheduling, and then also back on the back half, we haven't gotten to all the installers yet. We've started with the front end of the business, so we're game planning now. How do we get more people exposed to this? But it's absolutely complete from the start to the finish of our process. We're trying to implement this, and it's started to spread to other parts of our company. I mean, manufacturing has started to participate. Engineering has started to participate. Some of our counterparts over on the Anderson business, which again is a same company, but it just goes after a different channel of distribution and just a totally different way of going to market. They're starting to participate in some of our trainings, and our hopes are that the bug bites them as well, and it starts to spread across that larger group. I think it's important. I think you have to have. It can't just be sales. It's got to be everybody. And we have a saying around here: everybody's in sales. Everybody's responsible for sales because we all touch the customer in some form or fashion. So when that customer gets a positive experience from every touch point, that's just a positive thing for the business. Helps us sell more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that said, I mean, it's gradually seeping into all parts of the business. And I'm not naive, and I, no one on the call is. You'd think people would run to happiness, and most do, right? And I've seen it. But did you get any pushback or skepticism from the sales team and others?
Sure. You get the question, why are we doing this? Are we trying to fix something? And I'm as guilty as anybody with, we've had other training programs and corporate initiatives, and is this just the most recent book that Grant read, so this is what we're doing this year? I got some of that. I probably got a lot more than that I know, right? But I tell you, I think when you go through the seminars, and it's such a simple concept to wrap your head around. This morning I was asked the question why, and I don't have any ulterior motives other than I think this is a good thing for our people. And I think it's good for you at work. I think it's good for you at home. I just think it's just good. And take it as you want to take it. And people that go through these seminars and they go through it together again, I think the shared experience part is a big deal. They get it pretty quickly. And we now have got enough momentum going and things going on in the different markets where they can actually see how their work life has changed as a result of this effort, and they participate, they contribute, and I get a lot more feedback thanking me and surprised that a company would offer this kind of experience for their employees than I get any kind of skepticism or pushback. It's hard to push back on, right? I mean, I'm not asking them to learn a new language or anything. I'm just asking them to think about how they're showing up and think how they're treating other people in their work and in their lives, and say thank you a little more often and mean it. So I really have not gotten much pushback down. Now, I'm a little bit fortunate. I'm at a level where I don't know if I'm going to get a lot of pushback at this point. I did have some pushback, and it wasn't pushback. I just had some questions from my boss when I first started down this path. But my HR director and I teamed up, and we said we think this is a good thing for us. We should do it, and like he usually is, he's pretty much always is. He was supportive and said, "Okay, well, let's try it and see what happens." And he was in the first batch that went through the seminar, and once that happened, he was all in.
Got it. Oh, that's fantastic. So, we've talked about this a lot already, this connection between your culture and happiness, and it sounds like, again, it was a fit, and again, that context. And I think one of the things that, talking to you, Grant, that you've done really well is keep articulating the why, because I think a lot of people don't necessarily equate happiness and work, right? It's not something we're taught. We're not taught in school. We don't talk about it enough, but giving people permission to have fun at work, because when they're having fun and engaged, the outcomes we care about will improve. And it sounds like that's where you're going, which is awesome. So how about the personal impact, though? So how about you? You personally, Grant. I mean, how has it impacted you? I know you talked a little bit about home, but have you felt, yourself? Are you coming in? Do you feel more jazzed up to come to work and engage and participate and watch others? What's that like?
I, yeah, I think the impact for me has been seeing the impact this has had on others, and watching this thing from afar. Again, I've got 7 markets that I'm responsible for, so I'm usually in each of them once or twice, maybe 3 times the most a year. So I don't spend a ton of time face to face with folks, lots of calls and things like this. But seeing what's happening out there and the feedback that I'm getting, unsolicited feedback that I'm getting on how different it has become, and how much they love working here, and they're telling other people. One of our big recruitment successes here recently has been referrals. It's by far our number one recruitment source is employees referring friends, family, whoever to come on board, and that feels really good. I think when we all have numbers to hit, and we're hitting those numbers, and I think there's lots of places for us to do much better. And don't get me wrong, we're not conquering the world here. We have a lot of room for improvement in all areas of our business. But I think this is probably the thing I'm most proud of, is the culture and the way that the team has rallied around this. And I know all these things that we're talking about doing in the business to grow they're going to be challenging. There's a lot of change management that's coming. We've got some new technology that we're introducing into our business that's a challenge for any company. Is challenged when that happens. Our ability to absorb and be resilient through that, I'm sure, is going to be much better. We've already shown that here in the last year of some things that we've been doing. So I think personally, from a work standpoint, the positive impact it's had on my team and their personal lives is probably the thing that's has me the most proud of what we're doing. And I was always jazzed up to come to work. I love this. I love this company. I love this job. I think we're doing great work. And get the way we're doing it with on the backs of really great people that are engaged and pulling the rope in the same direction is a really fulfilling thing for me.
Yeah. No, I love that. So, Grant, thank you. We got a quick poll question for everyone. In your organization, what key performance indicator would improve the most if your work environment, your culture was more positive? I'll give you about 30 to 45 seconds on that, folks. And so, Grant, one of the things that I think also is important, and I think, my personal experience is that sometimes I think people get kind of taken back when we just talk about happy. Like, for example, you can't be happy every day. What does that look like? And I think the key component here, when we talk happy, we're talking positive emotions. So you're not going to like everything. Every day is not going to be, high fives and handstands in the office. But what you can control, and you said it, happiness is a choice, that you can choose your attitude, right? That you can bring a positive mindset, being open every day to the outcomes, whatever they are, and you will tend to get better results than bringing a negative attitude. And I think what we find is that regardless of whether you're an introvert or extrovert, whatever happiness looks like for you, we need to create a sandbox for everyone. Would you agree?
Absolutely. You bet.
Yeah, so I just got the poll numbers in. It looks like 60% said engagement would improve if we could improve the culture, which is pretty interesting, especially when you compare it to the Gallup data. So, guys, I'm going to open it up now for some for some questions. And Grant, we got a few minutes here. Again, you could certainly type them in chat, but I just got one from Lindsay. Lindsay said, Grant, have you noticed any a change in turnover since implementing Orange Frog? Has it?
Probably not. We don't really have a turnover. I mean, we're in a pretty aggressive growth mode, and retention is not really an issue. Ours is more attracting the right kind of person that's going to fit with our culture and absorb that. So I would say we never really had a retention problem in the past, and we definitely don't have one now. So I tend to forget. I have a short memory, so I'm not sure 2 years ago what our retention issues were, but I know we don't have one now.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so another question, Greg. They say, so what's next for you? Like he said, things seem to be going well. I mean, what's the plan going forward for the remainder of 2016 and beyond with Orange Frog? Where are you going with it?
Yeah, so we have these 6 facilitators that we'll continue to do once we get through all the markets, and they'll be done with that at the end of this month. And we constantly have new people coming on board that haven't experienced this yet. So there will probably be 2 to 3 seminars that get put on a monthly basis, at least through the end of the year, if not ongoing. So there's probably an opportunity to train some new facilitators, so we don't burn out the folks that we've got, and get more people some exposure. And I think it's a great development opportunity for someone to learn facilitation skills and be part of this big initiative. So it's how do we continue to get to all the people that we have in the company, and then we have new people coming on board, right? So you've got that too. So there's some sustainability and things we have to think through on that. We've pretty intentionally tried not to come up with a big plan on how we're going to push this, drive this initiative home, because I think as soon as you start doing that, it's got to be organic. And we're kind of waiting to see, once we get all the markets up and running and everyone trained, to see where the business wants to go with it and how they want to continue to evolve. So, I think it's holding each other accountable to staying positive and continuing to be on webinars like this with other people and hearing what they're doing and stealing ideas and trying them in our business. I think that's something we'll be doing as well. But yeah, we very consciously have tried not to be a top-down driver of this initiative. We want the people to take it where they feel like they want to go with it.
No, understood. So, Grant, I got another question from Patrick. Patrick says, how did you end up picking Orange Frog specifically as a training program? I mean, why Orange Frog? What about it?
Well, I thought it already there was a decent fit with our culture. So, again, as I said earlier, we were looking for something to codify our culture as we were growing and adding all these people. And I think the principles of Happiness Advantage, they're simple to understand. I think they apply broadly to anybody in the organization. Doesn't matter what role you're in. You can apply this to your everyday work, and I think it's just good for people. It's just clicked with me personally that this is a good thing to do. This makes people healthier and happier, and I believe healthier, happy people are going to be more engaged, and more engaged employees, as you guys have shown on your data, perform better and they're more resilient. They don't leave. Those companies get better results. So it's that it was probably the right place at the right time. I think I was scanning for something like this at that moment, and I was fortunate to find it when I did.
All right. Well, thank you, Grant, for sharing that. And so, I got another question from the group, and that is, did you have to? How much selling did you have to do to get Orange Frog in to upper management?
I had to sell it in for sure. There was we already have, and I think most, it's we were just discussing this earlier, that Fortune Magazine just came out with a top 100 places to work, and was reading that on the plane yesterday, and the overwhelming theme of that group of companies is employee engagement, and we've been on that at Andersen for a number of years, and this absolutely is a way to help drive employee engagement. It's a unique way of doing it, but we were already on that bone to try to drive that. So we framed it up as a way to further employee engagement. We talked about some of the other kind of employee-based metrics like retention and health, so like lost work days, things like that. I think it fits nicely with your HR department, so HR was able to get on board pretty quickly. So that helps. So I had an ally in HR, and I think it drives results. One of the things I haven't mentioned here yet is, and I see there's a couple of questions that came up here in the chat room of, did your close rate go up? Did your conversion rate go up? What metrics have been impacted by this? And I tell you, it's probably still too early to tell, what individual variables has driven our performance. I mean, we definitely have seen improved performance across the business since doing this. We've also done a dozen other things at the same time in an effort to drive that performance. So it's hard to pinpoint this specifically, but I can tell you one metric that I think has had a positive bump as a result of this is our homeowner satisfaction scores. And homeowner satisfaction for me and for our business is our number one key metric. We position ourselves as the high touch, full service, premium provider of window replacement in our markets, and our customers expect that at every turn. And because we have so many people and there's so many touch points, there's so many variables. Every house is different. It's not like we go in and we sell 100 houses and they're exactly the same. We do one at a time, and every customer is different. We're in retail. Having that consistent experience from start to finish across a large group of customers is really difficult. And our homeowner satisfaction score went up 4 points last year. You say 4 points, that's not that great. Well, it went from 89 to 93, which is absolutely world-class in our industry. So we were already really good, but went from 89 to 93. So, and I think it's going to continue to get better. There are things that we're still doing that are going to improve that. But when you can make a pitch up that here are the metrics that I think this is going to impact, and then come back a year and a half later and say, look what's happened since. I think they took a leap of faith a little bit with us that this is what's doing. And it's not crazy expensive either. It's not like we're buying hardware and things. I think it's a very affordable program to get into, and at least to test. And I think as soon as someone tests it and you see the reaction that your employees get, it's hard not to want to do more.
Yeah. Well, Grant, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today. It's been great talking to you. And for folks on the webinar here, if you'd like more information about the Orange Frog, please go to orangefrogbook.com. Feel free to email Rhonda or myself. We'll be happy to assist, get you more information on anything. This webinar was recorded, and we'll be sending out that link at the conclusion of this program. We're also going to redirect you to orangefrogbook.com. Again, Grant, thank you so much for your time today.
You bet, Kevin. Thank you. It was fun.
All right. Thanks, everybody.